Hi, welcome to the Azure AD Architecture Deep Dive series. I am James Poindexter, and I'm a program manager on the Azure AD engineering team at Microsoft.
Hello, my name is Shweta Rai, and I'm also a program manager on the Azure AD engineering team.
We are part of the customer experience team, and we help enterprises and businesses from all over the world to deploy our services and get to the cloud. We get a lot of questions about how Azure AD works under the hood, which we will share with you throughout this architecture series. In today's session, we'll talk about passwordless phone sign-in using Microsoft Authenticator, specifically the process that occurs when a user registers to use the Authenticator app. In a later video, we'll discuss how a user would use the app to authenticate themselves.
Research has shown that a majority of hacking-related breaches use weak or stolen passwords. At Microsoft, we're taking a lot of steps towards a future where passwords are not the default method for users to authenticate. We offer 3 passwordless solutions to our customers: Windows Hello for Business, FIDO2 security keys, and the Microsoft Authenticator. All of these solutions are based on asymmetric cryptography, where the private keys are securely bound to a single device and require a local gesture, such as a biometric or a device PIN to unlock.
So Shweta, when would someone use the Microsoft Authenticator app over the other offerings?
Great question. The Authenticator is best suited for mobile device-based scenarios where users can sign into work or personal accounts using their mobile devices. Microsoft Authenticator can be used to perform multi-factor authentication, or MFA for short. This is done by augmenting the user's password with a one-time passcode or a push notification. To register for MFA with push notifications, the user can navigate to aka.ms/MFA setup and scan the QR code on that page. Once the QR code is scanned, the user's account will be automatically added to the Authenticator. Next, the user is sent a push notification on their device, and upon approval, the MFA services in Azure Active Directory link the device to the user's account. The user is now registered to perform MFA via push notifications on their mobile device. The Microsoft Authenticator can also be used as a software token that allows users to sign into their work or personal accounts from a mobile phone using a strong user credential that is tied to a device and uses a biometric or device PIN.
Let's unpack that a little more. What does it mean to have a strong user credential?
Sure. A strong authentication is when you can successfully verify 2 factors of authentication for a user during the authentication session. These factors are something you know, typically a password, something you are, usually a biometric gesture, and something you have, typically a device that you own. When a user registers for passwordless sign-in with the Authenticator app, a key is generated and stored on the device itself and is only accessible by the owner of the device. This is something you have. In addition to this, the device owner must use their device PIN or a biometric gesture to access the key, thereby satisfying the something you are factor for authentication.
Thanks for explaining that. Registration is a very simple, one-time process, but there's a lot happening behind the scenes to create this seamless experience. Let's get a better understanding of what's happening on the back end.
Before the user registers for passwordless sign-in with Microsoft Authenticator, there are certain prerequisites they should be aware of to enable this feature. They will need to set up a device PIN or biometric gesture on their mobile device. They will also need to ensure that the device meets the minimum requirements for OS and hardware capabilities. When the user enables phone sign-in on the Authenticator app, the Authenticator will first attempt to acquire a token with device and MFA claims from authentication services within Azure AD. This is the service responsible for handling all of the authentications within Azure AD. From here, the authentication services will trigger the device registration process via device services. This is the service in Azure AD that is responsible for registering devices and providing the device with an identity that can be used to authenticate the device where the user signs in. An important note for registering your device for passwordless phone sign-in is that the device must be registered to a tenant, and it can only be registered to one tenant at a time. This means that you can only have one enterprise account on the Authenticator at a time, ruling out shared device scenarios.
Just to be clear, you can always set up multiple work or school accounts to perform MFA on the same device, such as receiving push notifications or one-time passcodes. The restriction we were just talking about is only for passwordless phone sign-in.
That's a great point. The device registration service will now create a device object and store it in the core store. The core store is Azure AD's main storage, which holds user data, tenant policies, and much more. Now that the user has successfully registered their device, authentication services will trigger an MFA request. The MFA service will route the MFA push notification to the Authenticator app via the Apple or Google Cloud messaging system. The user will then complete an MFA challenge by approving the notification on their device. At this stage, since we have a token with device and MFA claims, an asymmetric key pair is generated on the device, a public key that will be shared with authentication services, and a private key that will reside on the device itself. This private key will never leave the device, and it is never shared. The public key from the generated key pair is exported and sent to device services, which in turn creates a key object and places the object in the core store. The final step in this process is to register the user for push notifications for passwordless sign-in, which will result in a better user experience since the user will be promptly notified of the challenge. The notifications are sent to Authenticator app via the appropriate cloud messaging system for Google or Apple.
Now that we are registered to be authenticated into our account, in a future video, we'll talk about what happens when you authenticate with this method. We hope you found this video useful. We will also be adding more videos on our passwordless offerings, such as Windows Hello for Business and FIDO2, as well as other topics like provisioning, governance, and many more. If you want to get a copy of the diagrams we used today, or want to give us feedback and help us figure out what to cover, please follow the link on the screen.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.